platforms. I just want to begin by saying that if we look at the last 90 days, especially, while COVID has been a tough time for the entire business community, but for the gaming industry, it has been a completely different story. The absence of live sports has given the e-gaming another boost. I'll just quote some numbers that are out in the public domain. For example, in India, in the last 90 days, 90 plus days, we have seen 24% spike in traffic. That is huge. And currently, the e-gaming industry, the online gaming industry in India stands at $930 million and is expected to grow to $3.7 billion in the next 4 years, which is a massive growth. It is the sunrise sector. It's where the money is. So the future, if you want to leverage, if you want to play in this sector, I think there are three critical elements. One is the infrastructure part of it. Second is creating that seamless experience and also ensuring that India with its diversity is addressed with all its challenges that are there. So today we have a topic that addresses all of these things, and the topic is new gen CDNs for online gaming. And I have a very esteemed panel in front of me. I would introduce my panelists. I have with me Rishabh Mathur, founder and CTO. Sorry, just a minute. Nine Stocks.
Nine Stacks.
I have, Nine Stacks. I'm really sorry. Viral Mehta, VP Engineering, Loco. Sanket Savakar, CEO, Sports Interactive. Siddharth Kedia, Group CEO, Nodwin Gaming. Arijit Bhattacharya, Founder and CEO, Virtual Infocom. Anurag Khurana, eSports Consultant, Paytm First Games. Mukta Aphale, who will be joining us later. She's the VP Reliability Engineering, Mobile Premier League. We have Manish Agarwal, CEO, Nazara Technologies. We have Shiva Nandi, CEO and founder, Sky Esports. Anirudh Nagpal, CEO, Ebullient Gaming India. Yash Pariani, CEO and founder, Indian Gaming League. Aniket Sharma, who would be joining us in place of Mr. Ashwin Rao, who couldn't join us. He had some important assignment coming up, some meeting coming, I'm sorry. Aniket is the India Strategic Account Manager for Limelight Networks. We also have Ernest Russell, who is the Technical Product Marketing Manager at Limelight Networks, and Charles Cross, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Limelight Networks. Welcome, gentlemen, all of you, to this conversation. I would first of all start with you. If I can start with you, Anirudh, I'll come to you first. Tell me, how do you see the impact of the last 90 days on e-gaming? What has been your observation so far?
So, thank you so much for having me on the panel. I think it's a great opportunity, and also it's a great time to discuss about esports. As you rightly mentioned, that it has grown immensely in this particular 3 or 4 months. What I can share you are my experiences with one of our talents that we basically manage, that is Two Side Gamers, who's a Free Fire talent who basically plays a Free Fire game, and then there's Dynamo, who's primarily playing PUBG. In both of the cases, with Two Side Gamers, they used to generate 40 million views approximately for a particular month. Now they're generating approximately 71 million views in a month, which is a huge growth, approximately a percentage which is more than 80%. Up on the viewership which is out there. The second thing with Dynamo also, he has grown immensely. He has now a subscriber base of 7.7 million subscribers and is growing at a rate which is again at a percentage of approximately 70-75%. So this is in a personal capacity of an individual creator. When it comes to the genres of the contents which are out there in gaming, they are growing at a very fast pace again, which is again a tournament culture which is going on right now, which are the scrims which are happening, the practice matches. They have seen an enormous growth in numbers. So I'm pretty much sure that the best people out there are sitting here can tell more about on the tournament side. And also again, there are some other aspects of casual gaming as well, which I think Anurag sir will be mentioning you about, and then Manish sir also can help you out with it.
I want to come to Mr. Khurana with the same question. What has been the learnings for e-gaming players? And as I said at the outset, that there is a spike, this huge traffic coming towards e-gaming platforms. How are you leveraging it? Are you prepared for dealing with this kind of a traffic high?
Uh, from our experience, we were not prepared. Uh, since IPL was coming, our focus was all on the fantasy uh, part of our platform. But with that getting not happening, we immediately started the esports, and the response was tremendous. For the first tournament that we did for Clash Royale, we got 11,000 plus registrations. And the best part was, out of that 11,000 people, actually 8,000 people came to play the tournament, which was a roughly 3 day tournament. And that was our entry into esports. Then we thought that it was because of a fluke, so we launched another 3 month long tournament for Clash Royale, where we had another 10,500 people registers. So that has been our journey, and trust me, we were not prepared for this. When we launched the tournament, we just launched with 512 players registering, and maximum we had kept 1,000 people registration, but those 500 registration just happened in half an hour. So we just ramped it up. We were like, okay, let's move it to 2,000, 4,000. Then finally, even 2 hours before the registration was supposed to close, we closed it before, because we had got 11,000. It was our first tournament. We were not sure how would we execute, but response was tremendous.
Right. Mr. Mathur, tell me, from an infrastructure point of view, the e-gaming architecture point of view, what has been kind of your observation? What needs to be done in whatever you have learned from the last 90 days? How do you think people can deal and leverage this kind of a traffic flow that is coming their way?
So yeah, I mean, rightly put, Rohel. I think architecture is the basic architecture of your product is very important, and the architecture should be such that you are able to scale up both breadth-wise as well as depth-wise. So in order to do that, I mean, we at Nine Stacks, we basically we have a microservices architecture. So wherein each of these microservices are Dockerized, and we use Kubernetes to to put basically to containerize all of these. This basically helps us to in however unfortunate this COVID situation was, we did see 300% rise in our registrations, right? There were 300. I mean, if we were looking at 40,000 users, active users a month, that rose to 3x in one of the months. Right. And you can never be prepared for such such scenarios. So but I mean, if the architecture is built in such a way that you're able to scale up easily, that really helps. And in this COVID situation, it did help us a lot.
Mr. Mehta, I want to understand the local story of dealing with this.
In terms of numbers that we are seeing, our initial focus was obviously in any two-sided platform is to kind of secure the supply side, so secure people who want to stream. So we sent out a form just to give you some sense of the interest in this space as well. We sent out a form saying, hey, why don't you just give us your phone number, email, name, what game would you like to stream, and just put a link on the app.
Right.
We thought, yeah, over a week we'll get 500, 600 responses. Within a week or 2 weeks, we got 30,000 responses.
That's massive.
I deduped all of them. It was like 24,000. So it is just mind blowing the amount of response we are getting. And as Rishabh said, the only way to scale is to make sure that your architecture is designed to be horizontally scaled. You have to be able to have an architecture where you can just throw more boxes at it, and it'll just take more people and just take out boxes when your traffic goes down, and be able to manage that. Otherwise you are massively over engineering. If you're able to serve it, and if you're not able to serve it, then that's just the worst possible situation to be in. So there is tremendous interest in this space, and and that's our journey so far.
Right.
And it is we have a similar system. We don't use containers, but we use the straight EC2 instances and services like that, and we scale like that. So.
Right, right. Perfect. So I have two announcements to make. One is that we are taking questions. We are live on Facebook and other social media platforms. You can post your questions there or send us here on the Zoom app. Also, I want to request my speakers to limit themselves to 2 minutes. So we have a lot of questions coming, so we can address all of them. So I want to come to you, Mr. Saukar. Give me your side of the story, your learnings from the last 90 days.
Sure. So, I mean, I think everyone definitely believes that COVID's been an unprecedented situation, and especially for the gaming industry. And there are a lot of things that people had to pivot to. And again, there are two sides of the story. On one side, you have the fantasy sports platforms, which have taken a major hit because of lack of sporting action, all the events being cancelled or postponed. And they try to supplement that with other minor tournaments, but it's not the same thing. However, with Europe, parts of Europe opening up, especially football resuming, things should start to look better. But on the other hand, the online gaming platforms that host, the likes of Rummy, Teen Patti, Poker, Ludo, Quiz, and other skill-based games have seen a massive surge in traffic. And, the numbers that you stated, close to 23-24% growth is actually phenomenal. And what are people doing? People are, turning up on these platforms for seeking simple entertainment and social connect. So yeah, that's pretty much been the story.
Right. Mr. Kedia, if you can hear me, can you hear me? Yes. Great.
Yeah.
So Notwin has been doing a lot of work in e-gaming and been there for some time. Tell me your learnings. Where does the next phase of growth come from? Just want to understand your perspectives.
So by the way, just to be a little bit of a Puritan, it's esports or gaming. E-gaming is kind of a misnomer. But having said that, I think the two things that we are seeing is, one is the cultural context, right? So
Right.
we have seen that cultural context shift in the last 3 months from parents telling kids, don't play a game, it is not good for you, to now joining them and playing with them. And that's a massive, massive shift, right? So you have to understand that's like a tectonic shift, which happens once in a while in any industry, and it's happening in gaming right now. The second thing which is happening is we are seeing a massive shift in terms of people who are willing to compete, who want to aspire to be professionals in the world of gaming. And that's where esports really comes in. To give you an example, we run our national championship called India Premiership, and it runs for about 9 months of the year. And we are in the summer season right now. So when we started the registrations this year, we were reporting and we were feeling happy. Every few days, we said 100% increase from last season, 200% increase. At about 400% increase, we stopped talking increase in percentage. And now at the end of the registration for this season, we have seen a 19x increase. So where the number was 3,000 in last summer, it's sitting at 57,000 people wanting to compete and play professionally. So that's happening on the watch platform. On the view, on the compete platform, on the watch platform, again, we are seeing massive surge, right? So we have seen surges to the tune of 1.2 million concurrent views on YouTube. And that is no mean feat for esports to achieve. Those are regular, cricket used to talk about those numbers. Of course, now cricket has gone a little ahead, but a few years back, cricket was talking about those.
Right. Sorry. I think your audio is dropped. All right. I think I'll come back to, okay. Yes. Yes, please go on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that the two things that will happen is that in the post-COVID world, as we are calling it, would there be a little decrease in the number of people who are gaming? Yes. Will that be significant? No, because people have now got used to a new form of entertainment. They are going to play more games. It is more interactive. All other forms of entertainment thus far were passive. this is the only active form of entertainment, both competing, playing, watching, all of those, right? So I think the shift that is going to happen, according to me, post COVID, is that we are going to see increasing interest in both playing games for fun and competitively, and watching others play competitively. And there's going to be a significant shift in that.
Right. Anyway, I mean, there's not a fixed format to this conversation. Anybody wants to rebut or put in his viewpoints where somebody is speaking, we have that format as well. I want to go to Mr. Bhattacharya and ask that Mr. Kedia spoke about that behavioral shift, how that cultural shift is happening. Give me a little sense. Do you agree with this? And what does it mean for the industry, the esports industry?
Super. Well, it's a beautiful discussion actually that's happening. Honestly speaking, when you look at the entire population of India, we have three different segments. One is the kids who are playing games. Second segment is the parents who are right now engaged with these kids to play games. And the third segment is the people who are aged above 50, 55, 60s. So they are maybe grandparents of those kids. So when you look at the industry, according to my understanding, India saw a lot of those over 50 people. They are downloading their games into their smartphone and engaging themselves with those kind of play and movements and all. Not only that, I have got a few of the reports from those old age home, those guys who are aged above 70, 75 plus, who actually downloaded a lot of casual game. I mean, they don't understand the esports, of course, but they are inclined into the casual games. They are going for those kind of play modes and making friends. So what happened in a way is just an interaction with these guys, with maybe some kid whose age is about 12 or 14, and they are interacting using the game as a media. So I believe personally, post COVID-19, if you look at that world, those connections cannot be destroyed. The bond already happened for the last 60, 90 days. So a person who is like sitting alone at home, who don't have anyone to talk with, they got beautiful friends overnight, and they are interacting, they are communicating. I feel it's not about gaming, it's about more personalized experience for people, and that's going to stay, and that's going to continue for, I think, next 5-6 years minimum, until unless we have some other wave which is coming up and changing everything.
Sure.
That's going to stay.
Just to add there, Royal, I think see he's right in saying that we are seeing a shift in user behavior here, right? We're seeing a shift in user behavior now. Now online, basically, screen time has risen considerably, right? And now online is the place to hang out, because the usual places to hang out, they're missing. And for us at Nine Stars, we saw a huge surge in requests for private tables and private tournaments, so that people can play with their own friends instead of the regular table. So that there was a huge surge, so much so that this is what we are going to do now in the next set of innovations. We have to retain these users, right? We have to retain this user behavior is not going to change now. So we have to cash on this user behavior, and that's what.
Right. Mr. Agarwal, I want to understand from you the learnings of the last 3 months. Everybody has kind of different perspectives. What do you think have been the value adds for the esports community in the last 90 days?
I think in 3 months, a lot of Siddharth and everybody has spoken about. I think the beauty is that esports is mainstream.
Brilliant. Well said.
E4M doing a Limelight conference on esports means that you want to push.
Mainstreaming of the esports, huh?
Yeah, so you want to push this to your brands, and for all of us, honestly, ecosystem needs more money in esports. It's like good old days of cricket, when the money came into the business. You saw more and more aspirational among players to compete for the highest standards, and that had a direct correlation to more eyeballs, and a virtuous cycle got created. I think the same virtuous cycle hopefully will get created in esports. To me, this is the beginning of the outcome which COVID has done. And with lots of journalists talking about esports, more such webinars happening on esports, I think a lesser job people like me have to do about evangelizing esports. So I'm very happy that now the chorus is increasing, and more groundswell will happen, and esports will be mainstream. And maybe in 3, 4, 5 years time, this is really going to disrupt the whole sports ecosystem, and that is what I believe the power of virtual games is, that you have it's being played, it's being competed, and it's being watched on the device which is with you 24 hours. And I think that's the beauty of it. And the added element which really happens is the community part of it. The moment you add community to it, the more stickiness and more engagement happens. So I think esports is mainstream is the main outcome of this lockdown.
Perfect. Mr. Nandi, I want to understand that please speak about the mainstreaming, and do you think this push was needed? I mean, and COVID in a way became, I mean, I don't know, should I use the word, certain kind of a blessing for the community, for the gaming community, it needed that push, and it got it. Do you think now it is here, it has arrived? Do you think so?
Yeah, of course, we need a certain kind of push for esports community as of now, and this is the right time for the community to push to the next level. This is the right time actually. So since we did a tournament last 2 months, it was happened around 60 days. The push was it was insane. We didn't expect that kind of numbers, and that makes us to do a lot of things for the community and for the people. Okay, so that tournament we have associated with the logo, and we did PUBG Mobile, Brawl Stars, Clash of Clans, and Rainbow Six. But PUBG Mobile, yes, it will do good in terms of numbers. But what we was surprised is Brawl Stars and Clash of Clans, Rainbow Six did amazing numbers in terms of participation, in terms of watch minutes and everything. So the community is loving, all the communities became very active. So now going forward, this kind of things has to be leveraged to the next level in the eSport team.
Right. Mr. Nagpal, is it the absence of live sports that is giving this traction, or it is genuinely also going to stay here? Your thoughts?
So, what I feel is that as everybody is saying that esports is now mainstream, what we have observed is that since the time that we have been into it, since 2017, we have been seeing that it was tending towards mainstream forever. Now, it has been a massive explosion of mainstreamness towards esports, but it was tending towards this. For example, if I tell you, since 2018, there have been collaborations with the artists who are from the West. That is Alan Walker, for example, is a very renowned DJ. So when he launched this song in PUBG, he collaborated with 4 of the Indian PUBG players. That happened in the early 2019s. Then from that particular part to moving towards the best kind of people who are in terms of growth coming into the picture with the athletes which are right now there, who had observed a tremendous growth from 100,000 to 1 million in a very short span. That happened in esports again. Then again, if we talk about, there was the first collaboration which cricket and esports saw was again in 2019 for IPL itself. So KKR collaborated with one of our talents who was at that time, Gary Minati. They collaborated on by playing FIFA. So we had posted this particular picture saying that esports is now mainstream. So that happened into the early 2019s. Now is the time that people are starting to observe the multiple aspects of business in it. And there are plenty now. Now it has diverged itself into routes, into segments, which are now being seen as a profitable aspect for many companies which are MNCs and have come and seen some growth in their business. There's one more aspect to it, which is that when you talk about esports as a structure, it was consumed as a content, but as an organization, as a structure, it is yet to grow. When I talk about this structure, I talk about the tournament sector, which is still growing in terms of infrastructure, in terms of standard. Like how we see cricket right now, we don't see any of the tournaments are happening. Yes, the tournament companies are upping their game, and people are absolutely fascinated by it. And with the likes of Nordwind, Platonia, Teslet coming up in the picture and picking these things up. And also there are some esport organizations who have recently invested. So when it comes to esport coming in mainstream, I think it was mainstream already. It is now getting structurized and organized, and also the business aspect of the economic sense of it is growing. That is what it is all about from now onwards. It is mainstream from the last 365 days, I guess.
So you think it was all okay? Perfect.
Yeah.
Good perspective. Yeah. So Mr. I want to go to Mr. Paryani. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Tell me, what are your learnings from the last 90 days? What were the challenging parts of these last 90 days for you?
So I think
we know the traffic has surged, but what were the challenges that you faced? Yes.
So twice we've had to upgrade our server due to traffic and reaching peaks. We were hosting our website on AWS, and we've had to upgrade our package twice in the last 3 months. We kept thinking that, okay, this should last us good for the next 3 or 4 months, but it kept hitting in the new month. So I think those were a couple of obstacles, increasing our tech support and doubling our tournaments. So I think in March, we were averaging about 150 tournaments a month. Currently, we're at 280 to 300 tournaments a month. So we're still keeping that track despite the unlock happening. So we're ensuring that we're keeping the users engaged as well.
Perfect. Mr. Russell, I want to come to you. I mean, you have heard all those esteemed speakers, and mainstreaming, hike is the new, it has a bright future. All of those points have come around, and somebody also said that there was a challenge of tech there. Tell me, from a tech perspective, how do you see the last 90 days, and what are your observations?
I'm seeing the same things. How I like to think about it is not necessarily a change, but an amplification, right? Because our kids, our workers, even our grandparents, right, have more time to spend at home, more time to spend playing games. And I know even locally here, I have sons, I have kids, and they've been able to play more, enjoy more, right? And so from a technology perspective, it's something that we're seeing on both sides. From a CDN standpoint, we're seeing, and Charlie will talk to you a little bit about this later, is that we're seeing a large increase of not just in video games, but in the delivery of video, right? And it's good that we're in a Limelight being the CDN company, we're really in a space where we were prepared to help, because we were used to delivering large files, large quantity of files, and high quality files. And that's one of the things that you need to deliver a good video gaming experience.
Right. Mr. Sharma, I want to quickly come to you before I go to Mr. Cross. Your quick thoughts on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this was unprecedented. And the fact that all technology partners to the gaming workflow have to scale up to that, the fact that the industry has been able to do it, and the panelists here could add their views if they've had a success story with that. But so far what we're hearing is that it has gone in the right direction, which means although this was unprecedented, the tech partners that the industry typically chooses to work with, the top companies, have built robust systems and are able to scale up on a moment's notice to serve this.
Right. Mr. Cross, finally to you, this is with this question round, your thoughts on the entire, what people have spoken before you, and what are your observations? What do you think can happen in the e-gaming space, e-sport, so that it goes to the next level? What are your observations?
You're on mute, Charlie.
Sure. Yes. Sorry, can you hear me?
Charles, you're on mute, I think. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Please unmute.
Sorry. Yeah. So I don't want to give spoilers to the data I'll show later, but let me say that looking at the data across the 10 regions that we did the survey, by far the volume of game playing coming out of India for all types of game is far above any other country on the planet, really. Esports we saw from other surveys already in what I call millennials, younger, already esports was bigger than watching traditional sports for them even before this. But as somebody mentioned, this has been an amplification. So having the pandemic and eliminating physical sports has just amplified the use of esports tremendously. So because India, everybody in India plays all of these different types of games. It's not just certain games, but it's really across the board. I think people all over the world will watch what happens in India in terms of scaling up and how this is working through society, because you're taking the lead in the world in almost all of this. The cultural aspects, the numbers of people playing, the issues of scaling, it's all happening to you a little bit sooner than everybody else. So the eyes are on you to take the lead and show everybody the way.
Right. Perfect. I think we have understood.
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
Yeah. What I have seen, at least, I'm shifting a little bit from esports or gaming to a complete different dimension. It's relevant, actually. So I have been raising fund for one of the project based out of Australia, which is making the aircraft engines, right? So while making their deck, the amount of money they are investing, along with that, I brought in one company based out of Ukraine who are mainly specialized into XR and how to make engines in XR beforehand to have an experience into it. They are integrating the whole thing and started raising money. It never happened before. So people understood that this is the only way where they can do the collaborative approach. They can use the net, they can use the network, collaborate with other engineers, do the project all together, and then take it forward. So industry started realizing the fact that post COVID-19, before everything becomes normal, they have to work and take it forward. And for that, they need these kind of small integration. Earlier, it was like a hard pitch. Like you need to pitch a lot to make them understand why you need this kind of gamified solution. But now people are upgrading themselves. The whole industry understands that yes, we need these kind of segment. Maybe game technology can be utilized in industry. It can be on a mainstream gaming. It can go after a casual genre. It can go serious. It can go esports. But yes, the industry is going to see a huge hike. It's going to stay. I believe it's going to stay.
Perfect. I want to come to you, Mr. Khurana. We spoke about, we have learnings and everything else, but now there's another expectation from people who are in this space, which is providing a seamless experience. I think that is the next big conversation. And as somebody rightly said that, brands are also looking for, in the absence of live sports, there's a certain kind of mainstreaming happening and brands might actually start sponsoring, there might be a different world altogether. Tell me when the seamless experience, when we talk about it, how important do CDNs, what role do you see for them in the next, the next stage of esports or online gaming, whatever you call it, what is the role they are going to play? How critical is that element going to be?
I think I'm not a technical guy, but whatever I understand of CDN infrastructure, I think for delivery of the video content, the streaming part, that definitely requires great CDN services like Limelight and others. So that is where CDNs will play a much more important role than just doing esports tournament, because participation is not in couple of millions for tournaments, but viewership is in millions. So according to me, we need great CDN infrastructure and platforms like Limelight to basically deliver that experience, seamless experience to the viewers. That's my take on CDN's requirement.
I'm sure everybody on this panel knows and understands what CDNs do, but just for the benefit of the listeners out there,
Right.
like CDNs are like the private tolled highways of the internet that get your information across the internet way faster than your regular internet traffic travels. And without CDNs, none of the modern services that we are just used to and expect to work, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hotstar, Z5, any online service, they just simply would not work. So
Absolutely. I think brilliant.
are absolutely crucial.
So I want to come to you only, Mr. Mehta, with the same question that is our industry in India, for example, the gaming industry, is it equipped to deal with the next phase of growth that we are expecting, that we think will sustain, after this COVID? In terms of tech, what needs to be added, to be changed? What is your suggestion?
As far as the tech goes, we are, as a country, as infrastructure, we are 100% equipped to handle all of these growth. It's not even a question. And no small credit to companies like Limelight, Akamai, AWS, Google. All of these guys were made computing and scaling computing a commodity for us, and that is amazing. It's incredible amounts of work, but that's amazing for us. So we can just say, I want to triple my servers. All I need to do is click a few buttons and I have 3x the servers. Right? Same thing for Limelight. Hey, buddy, I need to 3x my bandwidth for the next 2 days. Like, okay, done. That's all I need to do. There is nothing else required. You roll back the tide 20 years, you'd have to buy infrastructure.
Right.
So that we are completely equipped. What we really need is support from the advertisers. So right now, esports and all of that is a very, very young audience. And the young audience, as Charles put it, the millennials or the children of millennials are actually consuming and playing these games. And those will very soon be the most difficult audience that brands actually want to reach. And so this is one of the ways to do it. And so we really need support and recognition that esports truly is a grown-up, formal, smart, mature industry that can actually deliver the goods and not just leave us as like, 5% digital innovation marketing budget stuff.
Right.
No, I like to add to that as well, to Vira's point, that what we have observed in the past approximately 1.5 years, that brands do have interest in it. How we have seen that is with the campaigns that we have done, they have sold out the products that we have endorsed. With the recent campaign that we have done with HP, it sold out the laptops. With the recent project with the AMD that we had done, sold out the products which were out there in huge numbers. And then again, there are the applications which are out there, like probably like MPL or probably like any software-based applications. And also Paytm is kind of also investing in games. So they also know that the kind of track that is involved right now is huge. All we need to do is...
Sorry, we lost your connection. Okay. Let me go to Mr. Kedia again. If you can hear me, sir.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me, what are your observations as far as the tech side and creating the next experience in gaming, online gaming is concerned? What are your observations? Are we prepared? Do we have enough of that, infrastructure, digital infrastructure, to make it possible in a diverse market like India, where, for example, in tier 2, tier 3 cities, there is a broadband issue. There are multiple issues. What is your observation?
So I think you've hit the nail on the head, right? So while I agree with Viral for everything that he said, it's just, now the good news is India is a mobile first country. So while we started out on PC in the esports space, console was kind of non-existent, and PC is building and PC is improving. but India continues to be a mobile first country. And for mobile first country, whether it's gaming or it's esports, one needs to have the cloud infrastructure right up there. Now, if you look at cloud infrastructure, the infrastructure which is being used is the AWSs, the Azures, the Google Cloud. Now, that's the cloud which is used. Where you have issues is where the telecom operators don't have the best bandwidth. And if you look back 2 years or 3 years versus today, that has significantly improved. Like, I don't even want to get into the numbers of how significantly it has improved, but that has significantly improved. Are there some pockets that are remaining that still have intermittent bandwidth issues? Yes. Are we is every telecom operator looking at improving those pockets and aligning those pockets at par with the rest of the country? The answer is yes. So I think we are very, very well positioned from an infrastructure standpoint. Like Viral said, be it Limelight, be it Akamai, in collaboration with all the telecom operators, we are only becoming bigger and better by the day. And I think COVID has accelerated that entire pace by what would have happened in the next 2 to 3 years has happened in 2 months. Does that mean that every single infrastructure provider out there would be looking at saying, okay, now how can I make some of these markets where some of these issues persist as my key priority? I would tend to say every single infrastructure operator is looking at that right now. So I think we are very, very well placed to play the future where, broadband and technologies and CDNs are going to play a very critical role. Because if you see the two industries that have been on a gallop ever since COVID has started is the video OTT and the gaming industry. And both of them are heavily dependent on CDN infrastructure.
Absolutely, absolutely. Mr. Saukar, the same question to you. From a tech and infrastructure point of view, digital structure, infrastructure, what are your observations? Where is the next level needed? Where are the challenges?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have alluded to the fact that from a capability perspective, India is right out there. And what has made that possible is the democratization of technology, that these platforms, and everybody has spoken about them, the AWSs of the world, the Azures of the world. And that's just meant that you're able to do a lot more with, with a lot of efficiency. And again, the future is going to be with a lot of ultra low latency systems that people would need to architect. Be a combination of technology choices across the CDN, because there are some problems that the CDNs may still not be able to solve, because not everything is routed through the CDN. And there'll be some decisions that have to be taken on the cloud. So it's a mix of technology sets that will come together, weighing the pros and cons, and delivering the solutions of the future. But
perfect. Before I come to Mr. Bhattacharya, I just want to request all the speakers to mute their microphones, and unmute it once you're speaking, so that there's clarity in audio. Also, to all the viewers, that we are live on Facebook and you can post your questions on Facebook. You can send us on Zoom. We are getting a lot of questions, and we'll keep last 10 minutes for it. Mr. Bhattacharya, your thoughts on the gaps in the digital infrastructure as far as gaming is concerned?
Well, if you are asking me this question, it has got two different aspects. One is from the company who is providing the service, and the user base and the consumer. If I look at India, to be very honest, if you leave the 4 or 5 metro cities, if you go beyond that, if you go deep into the players who are mainly playing from suburbs, there is a huge gap till date in India regarding network connectivity. So it's not about only gaming, it's about working from home as well. If you want to put your employees who are maybe from some distance village and they want to work from home, we don't have that kind of infrastructure. When you go deep into the player's experience, as a player, if I'm playing a game and I'm playing an online game with multiple different friends of mine, and somehow in between you don't have the internet connectivity, or somehow your network is off, as a player you feel really disappointed. And if it continues, it's not very healthy for the ecosystem. And to be very honest, if you look at the esports industry, I think we have got more than 40 to 45% players who are not from those 5 metro cities. So players are there who are actually trying to engage themselves, learn a little bit, communicate, and as I'm saying, get those personalized experience, be in the mainstream. I guess we lack a lot on that front. So we need an infrastructure for those guys who are looking for engagement level, learn a little bit. Esports is not about, as my personal feeling, it's not about only play. When you play a game, when you play any game in this genre, uh, maybe hack and slash, or maybe a cricket kind of game, whatever, or fantasy sports, it is actually increasing your IQ level. So it is actually increasing your speed level. It is actually increasing your thought process. It is improvising your thinking criteria. So let me take example of my kid. So he's about 12, and he started learning this 3 months period. He used to play games. Now he got a understanding. If I'm playing games, I should create games. I should understand the coding part of it. And I believe it is happening in multiple different areas in India. People are more inclined. And I would love to ask my co-panelist, like, we have a huge gap in India regarding game coders, game artists, and people are inclined to be into this, this industry. And when you talk about playing games, and from playing games, if you can convert those players into game makers, I think that's one of the best way, because they know the experience, they know how you love to play something, how you are engaging with something. And I guess we should more look into those network issues, those electricity connectivity problems, rather than only thinking that, okay, fine, we have got great infrastructure in India. I feel there is a gap till date that's happening. In fact, I would love to touch upon, let me take a little bit from the previous time. I can see that there are local movie makers like film production house. They are converting their movie making process into complete different way. They have started using tools to create home-based movies, which is a beautiful content. And these guys are coming up with their own OTT platform. So certainly the increase will happen in your CDN. People
No, I will touch upon those points. I'll come again. And I just want to go to Mr. Nandi right now with his thoughts about creating the seamless experience that we're talking about. How do we make sure it stays the next level, is there?
Yeah. So the thing is, when we are broadcasting a lot of contents, a lot of multi-language at the same time, in our experience, I'll tell, so we are facing a lot of bandwidth issues and a lot of internet issues while casting and broadcasting multiple languages. So that we have chosen cloud server technology to have a seamless productions for the broadcasting. So going forward, so the bandwidth and the server, cloud server technology has to be more precise, more improved, so that we can have a seamless broadcasting. So right now we are facing a lot of problems on the broadcasting, so that we have chosen the cloud technology. But going forward, we have to go on.
Right. Mr. Mathur, your quick thoughts on this. Sorry, our audio is muted.
See, Siddharth already, rightly said that we are a mobile first nation, right? Being a mobile first nation, the first thing, the biggest, challenge that all of us must be facing is to keep our applications highly available to the users, right? And in order to keep the application highly available, there is only so much that you can do, from the front end optimizations, minifications, certain compressions or image optimizations. The other thing that you can go towards is, of course, CDNs. So these are the two things that that can make your application highly available. Apart from that, touching upon what Arjit said, see, tier 2, tier 3 cities are now important. We see a bulk of our revenues coming from there as well. So the other thing that we need to figure out is localization, right? So how do you localize your, application so that the best user experience can be given to those, type of users?
Right.
That's
Okay.
the area.
Mr. Paryani, I want to come to you with this. Your thoughts on the role of CDNs, the newer CDNs, in creating this experience. What are your thoughts on this?
So it's definitely helped in giving rural network areas more connectivity, and
Right.
that's definitely helped with the traffic. And we've definitely seen a huge growth in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, not just in the tier 1 cities, as everyone has mentioned as well. And I think that's all related to the CDNs and having, users being able to have access to these mobile networks now and being able to operate and play those games and have, being able to log on.
Right.
So that's basically it.
Okay. Mr. Agarwal, your thoughts? The tech side, how do you see that seamless experience becoming even more, what you call smooth? For example, because live sports is not there, people have much more expectations from the gaming platforms than they had before, if I'm right. Do you think we are prepared for creating the next level of experience?
See, I think tech is enabler. And today the technology is not a limitation. It's your imagination which is limitation, and what you want to do and what you want to deliver. So I don't believe that the question about how will we manage, what will happen, will tech be able to deliver, I think those are all not the questions, not the problems which you are really looking to solve. There is enough and more capability and capacity in the both intellect side as well as in the execution side, which is available for somebody to create highly scalable business model in the space of esports or in the space of live streaming. So I think the question itself is not a question.
Right. So you're saying that we have the capability, but the moot point is that do we have the adjustment, do we have time to quickly adjust? I mean, how do we respond to this demand quickly and make sure?
Today it's elastic, right? So it's not that, I think Rishabh said, or somebody said that it's not that you're buying hardware and you're trying to take some go downs and then put your server farms and then try to put that iron in it and then no, that's not the case. So I think fundamentally what every company would need to really figure out is that how do we really harness and build experiences which are really going to work on mobile networks. They're going to work on varying mobile networks. They're going to work on Wi-Fi, which is very, very strong versus the small town, big town. Just the mobile network sucks everywhere. It's not a limited problem on the small town or a big town. There are pockets where it goes down. So how does really ensure a consistency of experience? How does one ensure that your product really is understanding of the Indian needs, and whether it's Limelight or AWS or anyone, how do we really adapt to the infrastructure conditions in India and really create those experiences in line with the CTOs? I think that's the important part. The capacity of servers is very highly scalable, elastic. So I don't think that's an issue.
Mr. Nagpal, I want to come to you. Nagol, sorry. I want to have your thoughts on this. So sorry, your audio is muted. Sorry, I can't. Okay. While you're connecting, let me put this question to Mr. Sharma. Your quick thoughts on it. We have heard that people want networks that can be agile and that can be from a strong Wi-Fi to a mobile network that is that goes up and down in an urban center. Also, there are pockets where you don't get the network. How do you ensure that you create that tech side of it, which will be seamless even in such situations?
I think, well, the solution is not at one point. There are too many things that go into it. There are some gaming scenarios where latency is the most important. Those are places where multiple players are responding to each other in real time, and that's where latency plays a real critical space. And there's some games where it just does not. It's not very critical. The question is, there's nothing that a CDN per se would do about the last mile directly. There are things that there are optimizations that are done indirectly to improve that, and obviously Charles will talk more on that. Though this peering that a CDN does with telcos, how deep do you go into the telcos to make sure at least you minimize the length on the last mile, how much the data has to travel on the last mile, and how much you can accelerate through. That's very important. Personally speaking, as a member from the gaming community myself, it's frustrating. Like he rightly said, even in urban cities, you do not have the best networks always, and it's frustrating when you are in a competitive scenario as a gamer, and you do not have the right network to support you.
Right. Mr. Nagpal, if you can hear me now, your thoughts on this?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm so sorry. I was muted at that time, Kunal. Also, yeah, so as everyone rightly mentioned, I think that there's what the bigger role here is, I guess, the intent to put out things, and also the intent to go ahead and do something which is out there and different with respect to the growing environment and grow this particular space. So once that happens, I'm pretty much sure that the technology that we have is sufficient, is suffice, is moving towards at a great space. So that won't be a problem as per se. And what we have also observed right now is that I was earlier mentioning this as well, that there are brands who are keeping an eye on it. There is money which is going to flow. Once there's money, there are businesses, there are things which are happening at a very great space, at a very great pace. And this thing will be definitely supported by the technology that we have right now. As Viral also mentioned, as Manish sir also mentioned, that the intent has to be right. And the rest things are, I think, that pretty much taken care of.
Right, right. Mr. Russell, I want to understand, tech part of it. You have heard all the speakers. What are your thoughts?
Yes, a lot of good feedback here. One thing I would like to add is that one thing we've learned here at Limelight Networks is that we can't be so competitive that we're not collaborative, right? So in order to provide our users with the best experience, sometimes we have to partner with telecoms, we have to partner with cloud providers, and when I say partner, we have to make sure that that our data locations are close to theirs, right? So that as you're getting your data from the cloud, right, that we can deliver it that last mile optimally. So I think that, the peering and the partnerships at that last mile are very important to continue improving our performance, especially in regions like yours in India, where, again, you may not have the best mobile connectivity.
I would disagree. I don't know why people keep saying there isn't good connectivity in India. India has by far, hands down, the best mobile connectivity of almost anywhere in the world at the cheapest possible prices. I was in the US in this December. I was between Portland and Seattle. I drive 15 miles off of the highway between Portland and Seattle, and I have no connectivity. India, I have no problem. I'm streaming my Bollywood jams all night long, 20 miles from the national highway. India does not have this problem. There are pockets, obviously.
Yeah.
India has a problem of cheaper phones, poorer phones, but networks are top class. And we pay $2 a month to get 60 gigs of mobile data a month, right? That. So it's just, I disagree with everybody. Mobile networks are fantastic here. What we really need help with is all of the technology providers are charging India the same global prices in US dollars. Now, Amazon, I don't know of any other rates, but Amazon published rates. They are charging us 8 to 10 cents a gigabyte for data transfer. But on the flip side, my customer is not equally monetizable. So there is a disparity in how much money I spend and how much money I can make to be able to run a successful business model. So this is the real help we need. from the technology providers that do what you have to do. I understand these things are very expensive to make, etc., but you have to somehow do something to help regions that have lower monetization per customer to have cheaper rates. Because if I keep paying the same global rates, then I'm not getting funded like those guys, right? What a Series A in the Bay Area is a Series B here. So I don't have that much money to spend. So can you help me out that way? And you will consistently see the world's largest numbers for streaming in India because we have the population. So while our numbers are larger, our bandwidth requirements are larger, our unit costs are higher, and our monetization per customer is lower. So we are in deep trouble here if we are charged the same rates as a US company is.
Thank you, Mr. Yeah. Please go on.
And I
Yes,
one more.
Sorry,
hard
connectivity is
stop,
bad.
so I
Sorry.
kind of, and then I got a little.
So sorry, your voice dropped. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
so-
We were praising the network, but it just got dropped.
I have a hard but thank you very much.
This is
Yeah, no
Alright.
problem. But thank you very much for having me. I have to drop off, unfortunately.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta, for joining
Thank
us.
you.
You raised some very valid points, and I'll come to Mr. Cross with those points. You heard them. You heard the concerns and the positives as well as the challenges. Tell us, how do we solve this? Give me the Limelight perspective of how do we address these issues. So your audio is muted.
Okay. So what's clear is that the actual technologies are not a mystery. From where CDNs are now and the private networks and so forth, we see 5G coming. Edge is going to become a big part of this as well to try to keep more of the game processing closer to users. So the technologies are not a mystery. What I'm hearing is that we have a business problem, not a technology problem. Right? It's a money. I see head shaking. Yes, Arjun. Right? It's a money and an investment problem. It's a business problem, not a technology problem. The technologies exist. If the money is put into it to expand the infrastructure and it's a mobile environment, we know what the technologies are. Invest in it, and it will come. That's the bottom line. And it's not the customers are known, right? You have the customers, you have the users there, and they're begging for the connectivity to play. So I would call this a perfect storm. So you just have to add money, right?
Right. Perfect. So we will be going. We have one. I'll go ask one question, and then we go to the question and answers that we have received. I want to go to you, Mr. Khurana. I want to start with you. What are the broad trends that you kind of, you can see in the foreseeable future in the Indian gaming industry that would kind of define the industry? Broad trends, if you could tell me.
Gaming is becoming mainstream. That is the biggest trend that I would like to bring the notice.
Absolutely.
As Manish has also said, because I've been in gaming for, I started my gaming career back in '99. So I'm an old guy in this webinar from time I've spent in the gaming per se. But we used to every year, I've been in this industry for almost 15 years. I took a break for just 10 years. We used to say next year is gonna be the best year for Indian gaming industry. But now I can say that 2020 has been the best year for the gaming industry. First time I can say with a very conviction that this has been the year that we have been talking since '99 that this year will come. That is one thing. Second thing, I think gaming has been accepted as a way of life even by non-gamers. Giving you a very small example in just 30 seconds. My wife, who's not a gamer, and she hates because my kid and myself are two great gamers in the house. But right now, since she's also stuck at home, she loves playing Ludo on Paytm First Games platform. So she has also turned a gamer, of course, a casual gamer, but Right now, my son only gets scolded by her for an hour that he's playing too much, whereas it used to be for almost 23 hours in the past. So acceptance of gaming as a way of life is another trend which is there. And of course, for esports, acceptability, legitimacy for esports as a, a sport per se, like we,
Right.
of course, it can't be of the, I don't expect it to be of the same way we look at cricket because, India, cricket is a religion, not a sport for us. But acceptability of esports also as a sporting event is also been accepted by the industry largely. So I think those are the three trends that I've seen and we'll see just increase on the numbers going ahead.
Right. I will come to you, Mr. Paryani, with your thoughts on the broad trends that will define the space.
So mobile gaming, as we know, is going to be one of the largest in the next coming years, followed by, I think, console. We're seeing a rise now. I expect, with PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox, India will hopefully get a decent amount of users over there. And we can see a growth over there, but the highest will definitely be in mobile network and having mobile games. That's where we've seen the biggest trends. And we continue to also have majority of our tournaments around those games. And we're looking to now, we've seen the trend shift recently in the last 3 years, as they mentioned. It was a PC trend where Dota and CSGO were like the highest games in India with the most amount of concurrent users. Currently, that's changed completely with the introduction to Battle Royale through games like Free Fire, through PUBG. So these kind of games, the new format of gaming as well has opened up a new array of gamers. So we can't even predict what kind of games are going to come in the future. With new technology, there'll be new formats, and it'll be lead to a new array of gamers as well. So, but again, we see that, and maybe augmented reality and VR could be also this year, in this decade, we'll see an exponential trend as well.
Cool. Mr. Agarwal, your thoughts, quick thoughts.
So if you look at it, I think what is still elusive in gaming is the monetization.
Right.
And I think that needs to get sorted. Gamers, number of gamers, time spent, and everything is fine. And the more the gaming becomes multiplayer, the more really you kind of move towards giving great experiences. The cost keeps increasing. So I think the monetization has to really keep in pace with the cost. Otherwise, a lot of companies will find it very difficult to keep sustained on the growth and how to manage the costs. Right. I think I go back to 15 years back where the AWOD on OTT platforms, every streaming cost was more than the advertising revenues which you used to make. And I think with the social multiplayer, huge amount of casual gamers, they playing and not kind of paying. That's to me is a big solve which needs to be figured out. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Kedia, your quick thoughts on this.
So on the monetization side, I think Manish has already added. I think from my perspective, from an esports perspective, the two things that are going to change is media companies, more and more companies are going to come in and take media rights for esports in India. They are going to showcase esports on their platforms. And as that happens, a corollary of that is more and more brands are now seeing that if they have to connect with youth, if they have to engage with youth, if they have to build a community and enjoy the benefits of loyalty and connect with the youth, esports is going to be one of the primary drivers for that. And hence, both from a sponsorship and media rights perspective, this industry is going to get the much needed fillip, which regular sports has got in a lot of in a lot of countries in different ways. So whether it was baseball and basketball and football in the US, whether it was football in Europe, whether it was cricket in India, for esports to become mainstream, it will be driven largely by media companies and brands alike.
Perfect. I will come to with the rest of the questions. There's a small presentation by Mr. Cross, and then I would come to all of you. Mr. Cross, you can start your presentation.
Okay, I'll share my screen and I'll go very quickly through the data here, because I don't think any of this is going to be a surprise to anyone. So I'll skip the, all right, so you, so nothing new. Mobile is primary. We've all said that. Frustration by slow game downloads and interruptions. We've talked about that as well. Watching others play video games. So a lot of the data you're going to see, this is how much, I just want to reinforce how much more things are happening in India than the rest of the world. So on average, twice as many hours per week than any other countries, just watching esports. But they still watch, well, not now, but before the pandemic, they still watch traditional sports on television twice as many hours as people in other countries. You know, not obviously not true today, but that was the case before. We'll see what happens on the other side when esports or when traditional sports are playing without people in stadium and starting to show that. We'll see if that continues. Fast performance is very important, and then simple gameplay is second. This is a big, huge thing. Everybody wants fast performance. In fact, gaming's so popular that a large 30% of people, they play daily at work, at least a little bit of time. You know, they can't help themselves. And somebody had talked about how so many more players in India want to become professionals. They want to do that. So yeah, 53% in the survey, and this is again the highest of any other country. If they could support themselves by being a professional, they would. And interfering with daily activity. So this is really funny when I look at this across country. So, you know, missing work, that's fairly typical. Missing time to socialize, sure. Gamers are famous for missing sleep, you know, playing deep into the night. Miss taking a shower. Missing a meal, this is really funny because in two countries, France and Italy, this is a very low number because I think in those two countries, eating is maybe more important than in most other places. So I thought that was funny that they don't miss meals, but everything else is the same. And I just want to show that this kind of popularity of these games, it goes across everything, all these types of games. So it's not just some of the big ones. Multiplayer, single player, shooter games, role play, you know, all these types of games are extremely popular. And, you know, they spend over 4 hours a week, twice as many, again, as all other countries doing these things. So watching traditional sports or watching esports tournaments, watching other people play, just the watching side, never mind even the playing side, extremely popular. And I think this is the final one. The console-less gaming. So when I think of things like Google Stadia, you know, trying to get more cloud gaming, you know, there's some issues now around performance and latency with some of these games. It's improving, but it's going to be really, really important to solve these problems and get a lot of the gameplay localized as much as possible to avoid this problem. But most of the people would subscribe if a service was offered in their part of the world. They all expect high performance. You know, that if the performance isn't good, they won't subscribe. And also, but the cost has to be, it can't be very expensive. So it has to be high performance and it has to be performant. Given a choice, watch a movie or play a video game, 70%, they'd rather play a video game. You know, I don't think any of this is a surprise to people here. So I'm gonna let Ernest go through some use cases. Ernest, do you want to share your screen or do you want me to just drive for you?
Yeah, we'll go through this quickly. So if you could just advance for me.
Yep.
And thank
So
you, Charlie. Yep,
we're on the use cases. Say again?
Yes. Yes. So yeah, thank you for covering that data. And for our viewers out there, our online gaming report is available online. So I just want to kind of put it in context here. Now, this isn't all inclusive, but these are some of the popular use cases that we see as a CDN and help our customers with. One of the biggest needs is gaming file downloads, right? And the need not just to deliver your game to your users, but to be able to deliver in remote regions, to be able to deliver at scale and with good performance. And then the next use case we have is the game streaming platforms, right? So these are platforms for downloading and sharing games, and a lot of interactivity there, right? And so we want to provide tools that allows the gamers to interact. And one of the best things for interaction is low latency, right? Because that delay between video can cause that awkwardness, right? So latency, then we increase interactivity. And then we have esports and gaming tournaments, which we've already mentioned here is increasing in both popularity and size. And so with CDN, we don't particularly help with on-site, right? And in a lot of these esports tournaments, the gamers are on-site to provide that equal playing field. Where the CDN more helps with is the delivery of that, right? And the millions of viewers that are enjoying these esport tournaments. And then the final case, use case we'll take a look at here is one of the newest is the console-less gaming, right? And some of the challenges there are similar, where we're still delivering large files and data. Also, we're integrating more interactivity, controls, and especially in your region, we're seeing mobile first development, right, being very important, and making sure that our users on phones and tablets are getting an optimal experience. So we'll go to the next slide here. All right, so in the video game download challenges, the key is we want to achieve better performance, reducing interruptions, but in particularly on the next slide here, is you'll see that most prefer to acquire their video game by downloading it, right? Especially with the store shut down, right? Instead of buying a physical copy or renting a copy, a lot of them are downloading. We see here over 63% prefer to download their games, right? And the thing that they're most frustrated with isn't interruptions, or it isn't that the download didn't work, but it's the length that it takes for the initial download, right? Because they're anxious, they're excited to start playing the new game or patch. Go to the next slide. And so for gaming streaming platform challenges, slightly different, and again, these may overlap some, but we for game streaming platforms, we need to scale content delivery, right? And again, the low latency video enables us to increase interaction, right? And so here at Limelight, we have chunk streaming, tune chunk streaming. So we have ways that we can reduce latency to increase user interactivity. And I just want to highlight one of our customers here, Nintendo Europe. We were able to help Nintendo Europe with their site and really increase performance. And the challenge they have is that they have a lot of videos video on demand videos that they needed to be able to manage, to be able to store on their website, and deliver anywhere with the performance that we all expect from their video games, right? So we were able to use our video platform to manage their video on demand. We were able to apply player branding so that to get the look and feel that they desired within the site. We're able to optimize their video storage and transcoding, making sure that all the videos were in proper format for the various devices that they were delivering to. The things I want to highlight most is the last few, right? That again, the mobile device detection, optimizing video to each device, and global scale. Again, Nintendo being a large global company, they wanted to make sure that they're getting optimal performance wherever the viewer is. Next slide, please. All right, and we're almost through here. And so just wanted to talk a little bit more about the Esport Challenges, which again, it's more of, and this is where I think CDN really strives, is that to us, this isn't any different than cricket or World Cup when we're delivering video out to the many users, right? And so again, most of the players are on site, so where our help is needed is making sure that that e-tournament video reaches your users with good performance, low buffering, and low start times. Next slide. And so now, let's talk about console-less gaming challenges, which is one of the newer and slightly different, right? Because it's not just the viewer watching, right? It's there's a new challenge here in being able to scale real-time applications, being able to perform user control over the web. And that's really where we get into the benefit of moving compute to the edge for better performance, making decisions at the edge, and also keeping that mobile first development mindset to make sure that all of our users, regardless of platform, are receiving a good experience. And okay, I want to close here with some security. We all want to make sure that we protect our gaming infrastructure, right? And that's across all channels: website, mobile, and our API, or application programming interface. Next slide. And so, we lost the slide deck there, Charlie, but I can, no problem. I can continue here. And so some of the things that the ways we offer protection are in the same ways we offer protection for our video services with our web application firewall, our protection from DDoS attacks, and also our API security, right? So again, we want to make sure that we're protected, we're secured across all platforms.
Perfect.
And
thank you so much. Sorry, you have more to add here. Please go on.
Yes, no, I wanted to wrap up there, but I think it's a good time to interject some questions. Yes.
Perfect. So we have 5 minutes, so I want to quickly go to Mr. Mathur. So this is a question from Pratik Kadam, a very relevant question. I'll come to others also. What are the best possible ways to make brands believe that investing in esports is beneficial for getting their brand vision out there?
Could you just repeat that, please?
What are the best possible ways to make brands believe that investing in esports is beneficial?
See, honestly, I'll talk about the real money gaming market now. Mm-hmm. So honestly, the real money gaming market is the most monetizable market right now. Mm. If you talk about casual gaming, then casual gaming in casual gaming, the paying customers are probably of the tune of 0.1% to 1%.
Right.
In the real money gaming aspect, the entire business model is based on the rate or commission that you charge from the users. So
Right.
in these because of this what we what the advertisers or what the investors should see is that this is the area where actually the money can be made and the return on investment could be there.
Right.
Right. So that is probably the biggest pull for them.
Perfect. Perfect. I want to come to you, Mr. Bhattacharya. What are your thoughts on this? How do we, how can brands, see more value in esports?
Well, it's a very simple thing. Actually, we always, when we go for any kind of business deal, we should look at the point who is not our customer rather than who is our customer. So as a brand, when you go for any kind of new genre, they usually go for that first question. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay. So when you go for that kind of filterization model, any brand, any decent brand, they will filter out who is not their consumer. They are not looking for users. They're certainly looking for people who are buyers. So as a esports industry, when you rope in those brands who are looking for mileage, who are looking for selling their products, I guess that's the kind of filtration model we should come up with, wherein we can say, you know what, these are the filtered consumer base for you, and these are the kind of market size for you, and this is the kind of percentage you can grab it. So if those kind of structure is there in front of them, I don't feel that people will shake again their head that I shouldn't invest into esports. And in fact, apart from India, there are multiple kind of investment that's happening. I can go on with Russia, Australia.
I'm sorry. I had to cut it short. I will just give you another opportunity. So my role being taken by panelists, we have 3 speakers here from Limelight. Do you have any questions for them, Mr. Bhattacharya and everybody else? We have 3 more minutes to go. To Mr. Cross, to Mr. Russell, to Mr. Sharma.
I missed your question. I mean, missed the question.
So we have Mr. Russell, Mr. Cross, Mr. Sharma from the Limelight networks. Any questions for them from the panelists directly, you can ask them.
Oh, super. I mean, I'm all in for shaking hands with all of you. So like, it's open.
Please go ahead. If you have any question, we have another 2 minutes.
I have a question. I mean, from a CDN, provider, a serious player there. How are you? How do you place yourself as compared to AWS, CloudFront, or other such CDN players in this business?
Who is this addressed to, Mr. Cross or Mr.
Cross or Russell? I mean, please.
Yeah, Charlie, it looks like you're on mute, Charlie, but it looks like he has an answer to that one.
Yep, sorry about that. I'm a terrible mute person. So the AWS we look at as we call cooperation, because yes, they have CDN services, but also a lot of our customers use AWS storage. So we find that even we have CDN storage as well, but we find a huge number of our customers use AWS storage. So in a way, they're a partner. We have APIs so that we make it easy to exchange data with AWS and the CDN. And our businesses are different, in terms of the services we offer compared to AWS. Their platform is, you can sort of create your own CDN with the different softwares they have. But since it was a different business model, we try to be more white glove. We have all the different services and we help you and so forth. So it's a cooperation kind of scenario.
Yes. Any more questions on tech side of it?
Yeah, Ruel, if we don't have a direct question, I would like to make a comment on something that was asked earlier. I think one big takeaway that I was hearing through across the discussion today was that the pain point is more than tech is on the business side. the industry has a big challenge on monetization, and they want vendors, they want partners who can work with them to help them on reduce costs in this phase, right? And when I heard a statement which said that we got off the shelf rates that are US rates being sold in India, it seems to me that the infrastructure side of this table has not really understood the potential perhaps of how big this industry is going to be in India. And it seems like a great opportunity to sit together and work together on something on those lines. I think we had the same phase with OTT and video coming up many years ago, and the solution lies with the gaming service providers and the infrastructure providers who are going to support them to sit together, figure out where the cost lies. From a distance, it looks like a per GB rate, and that's what you have to pay. But there are things that go behind that to actually that build up to that cost, and there are optimizations that can be done to reduce that cost by working together. For instance, the size of the object that you deliver has a big impact for a CDN on what cost comes out, and that's something that two partners can sit together and really work out. So it sounds like a very interesting opportunity for the two industries to sit together and figure out to make this a profitable business for everyone.
Mr. Bhattacharya, you want to ask something? Sorry.
I guess we are actually good to go. I mean, from my end, there is no question.
Yes, Mrs. Savkar, I can see you.
No, sorry, I have a hard stop, so I wanted to drop off. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. I will officially sum it up and say thank you to all of you for this wonderful conversation, wherein we brought out some gold mine of information that can be used by all the players. Thank you so much for joining us, and hope to see you soon in another live event, maybe at the live event. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Stay safe.
Thank you for putting it.
Stay safe, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Bye.